Hey guys, welcome back to Deep Dive Haunts, episode 8. Tonight we are going to talk about uh, Ashmore Estates, Coles County, Illinois. I have Scott from Ghostlight Paranormal. My brother Tim is here. Unfortunately, Roger from Potter Paranormal had a family emergency and is not going to be able to join us tonight. We hope all the best goes out to them, prayers and so forth, that everything comes out good. Um, we did a collab last year for Ashmore Estates. Um, my team, a lot of my team wasn't able to go, so I had asked Tim. I got in with Hoosier Paranormal, um, which I haven't talked to her for a hot minute. I've been trying to talk to her, but she must be super busy. Um, Scott from Ghostlight, Potter Paranormal Project. He had a team of 5. His dad came down with him at 2. So there was like 10 of us that went to this location. Oh, Heather was there from Ghostlight Paranormal too.
Yes.
Um, so we all met. We had dinner beforehand, a little pre whatever, and then we went out to Ashmore Estates. Got a tour. That was really cool. Um, a little back history about Ashmore Estates. It is known for its haunted history, stemming from its past as a poor farm and a mental institution. Um, it was established in 1870 as the Coles County Poor Farm. It served as a refugee for the poor, mentally ill, and infirm. Over the years, it transitioned into a psychiatric hospital and a nursing home, um, and there was a lot of deaths. Now, the building that sits there today isn't the original building, and it's not the original Coles County Poor Farm. They moved it to where it sits now in 1870 after purchasing 260 acres, um, to do a new farm, upgraded building to house more people. Hi out there. Say hello in the comments, guys. Um, it was an, it sits near the Indianapolis and the St. Louis Railroad, and that was another reason why they went in that direction. The original building was 38 by 58 feet and 2 stories tall with an attached kitchen. Um, they had a fire.
Mhm.
Was that right? And a storm took out a lot of the old building and stuff like that. So then they replaced it with a structure that is there today. It is a 3-story structure with a peaked roof, almost doubled in size to what it originally was. Um, and there is also 3 bunk houses out there that you guys get to stay in if you choose to do that while you're investigating. Many residents or inmates, as they were called, died at the farm, and the county maintained a small cemetery somewhere north of the grounds, which is all cornfields now. Um, I think that was north, right? Cornfields to the north.
They had cornfields, I believe. It was surrounded by cornfields on either side, at least the time that we were out there.
Right.
I
Well,
think
I think that's the south side. The north side is houses and cornfields.
I,
Anyway,
yeah, I don't. I can't remember if it was. Yeah, it. If you stand out to the front of the building, yeah, I don't know what direction that is for sure.
it's all sorts of crazy out there. Um, anyway, and the county maintained a small cemetery. Oh, yeah, north of the grounds. Um, in 1879, the superintendent had recorded 32 deaths out of the roughly 250 inmates who had stayed at the farm between 1870 and 1879. Another pauper cemetery established a few years later still exists south of Route 16 and now contains the graves of between 60 to 100 people.
Mm.
The 2 most prominent spirits that are said to reside there are Joe Bluxham, who was a maintenance worker. He did all of the maintenance stuff, ran the, what do you call that? He ran in the basement.
The
boiler.
boiler.
boiler,
Mhm.
and all of that. I don't remember um, exactly the situation, but he had left and got struck by a train and got brought back to the location where he later died. And then Elvis Skinner, um, I read today 6 years old, but I was thinking four. I don't know. So between 4 and 6, who died from the fire that I hit on a little bit ago. She is said to reside there and walk the halls. Um, Lots of paranormal claims about that. So if you guys want to do some more reviewing out on their website or Google the information, you guys will find out more on that. Hello, Tanya, Kathy, and Pocono PRP. Tell you, I have so much trouble with their name. Um, even though I know how it's pronounced. But hello, guys. Thank you so much for joining. As we're talking through the night, if you guys want to say any comments or ask any questions, feel free to do so. Um, upon getting to the location, Scott, what did you feel about? What was you feeling or sensing or whatever about the location?
I was really excited because I mean this was my first trip there. As a matter of fact, it was my first trip outside of Kansas on a haunt. Before that, I'd just been mostly around some of the places that that we had within the state, which there are a lot, and not to mention I've been trying to kind of promote some of the activity that we have in Topeka. And so, yeah, I was excited to be there. I had some new equipment that I hadn't quite tested yet, and so I was definitely ready to go. And I had one of my other investigators, Heather, with us, and I think that was probably actually her first investigation anywhere. So we were both excited. So and just ready to see what they had.
What did you think about the building overall? Like when we went in and you.
I was, the vibe there was, was definitely kind of mixed. I thought, the on the tour, there were some areas of the building that I really didn't feel comfortable going back to. There was one bathroom that on the second or third floor that I really felt kind of odd about. The other place was was the basement. Was actually the workroom that was just off the boiler room, and that was another place where I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to go down here. And as it turned out, it was the first place that you two wanted to investigate. So,
Right.
so I was like, okay, as long as I had people with me, I think it was fine.
Yeah.
So, and
That
I actually ended up probably having one of my best experiences as an investigator down there. So
we'll hit on that in just a second.
yes,
The room behind the boiler room. Okay, that boiler was huge, but the room behind the boiler room definitely had a different feel to it than even in the boiler room. Um, and there was a lot of commotion going on in that area. We'll come back to that in a moment. Tim, what was your initial thoughts arriving at that?
I thought the building was awesome. I've been wanting to go there for a long time. It's was on one of my bucket list places to go because of the history of it alone, just period. Getting there, I was awed by it. The building was huge, the way it was designed, the way it was built. Learning the history of how the patients lived in this building and how they were separated. on the bottom floor where they ate in different rooms, stuff like that. We've been in other buildings like that as well. So that kind of a history in the background is interesting. The fire, the lady being burned in the fire because she caught a fire in the kitchen area. Those are all interesting things. I wanted to go in the basement. That, if you know me very well, the creepier the better I go to. So that's the way it is. But to learn about the shock therapy room in the upstairs as part of the history of the building, I wanted to go there because I was curious to know what entity might even be still there. I mean, let's think about the history of shock therapy on a patient. Back in the day, it was experimental. It was totally an experimental thing to try to solve, what today they call PTSD or mental illness, whatever you want to say it is. But it was, so those are things that I was interested in to find out the history of the building and the actions that went on, what the doctors did, and how the nurses may have reacted. What was the patient's daily lives like? How did they exist, and what went on with them? I mean, the guy in the basement that got hit by the train and brought back. I mean, that's quite the history. That's quite the lore if you think about it. How those things happen. I mean, there's no train track there now. I mean, we don't know where the train was or where it might have been at one time. The other thing was the cemetery out in the yard. There's supposed to be a cemetery out in that yard somewhere that's buried. The graves are still buried. They think they found one grave, if I remember right.
I,
So,
honestly, I can tell you, yeah, there's a cemetery back there.
yeah,
Trust
Yeah,
me.
under the dead tree.
Yeah.
correct. And so with all that involved, yeah, it was one of the places I've been wanting to go for a long time, and I want to go back. I think we do it again, a different method, different attitude, different way of looking at how we're going to attack it, or sorry, investigate it. But as far as that goes, but that's the way it goes. But yeah, I was awed by it. I really was. I was awed by the whole presence of being there. So it was a thrill.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a different place, and I can see how a lot of people say that it's that it could likely be the most haunted place in Illinois.
Mhm.
So that that is definitely something that I would definitely rate it. I mean, there's definitely activity there. It's definitely
Yeah,
got a very high vibe that really does. Either it makes you excited or it makes you um, a little bit concerned. And but yeah, there's also quite a little bit of quite a little bit of sadness there as well
exactly.
for for a lot of the people that ended up there. And it's something that living where I do in Topeka, where at one time we had at least two large mental health facilities, not to mention our own poorhouse in Shawnee County as well, because back then everybody every county was required to have a poorhouse or someplace to put misplaced people. And
Mhm.
that there were a lot of shall we say, experiments that we would look at today and say that that's terrible, but
Good.
back then that's what they had, that they
But
didn't
yeah,
have research,
yeah,
so there was a lot of things that they needed to try to do, like the um, uh, um, oh gosh, where they go through the eye. I'm sorry.
okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, the lobotomy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
lobotomy. I mean, they just they thought that that was it.
yeah,
You literally go into the brain and you fix the problem. And
right.
there was another period of time also, at least here in Topeka, at the Topeka State Hospital, where they were doing sterilizations, and they
Yeah.
did that for probably 40 years in Topeka.
Kathy says, wonder if a metal detector can find graves. I don't know about that, but I do know that they have like those ground penetrating
Yeah.
radars that
Hmm.
can detect, um, like if it's a human remains or whatever.
it'd be disturbed. It would be disturbed dirt is what they look
Mhm.
for. And I mean, the dirt um, in a cemetery, they dig it up. It kind of messes with the vibration of the earth in that particular area. I know that
Yeah.
there is one haunt, and I can't remember. I remember reading about it here just a few days ago that they had somebody come in with GPR, and they did find one or two places where there are bodies buried, including in the foundation of the building.
Sure.
Just if anybody out there remembers what building that is, let us know. But
Yeah.
they were so far fairly successful in finding places where there possibly might be bodies buried.
Yeah. Well, they do also do that. They do the cadaver dogs,
Hmm.
trying to smell, if there's bones or anything ancient there that attracts them. I think they did some of that out there outside of Ashmore. I think that's been done as an experiment. I have to go back and look, but I think they considered that or did try it. I'm not 100% on that one. Trying to locate the graves that are out there.
I
That would be
believe I believe the Portals to Hell crew. I think they brought
yeah.
in a dog.
They brought in cadaver. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, interesting to say the least. The grounds are definitely different out there too. Like for me, even though a bunch of us were out there at one time, if you walked over to like the edge of the building and you were over there by yourself, or like we went to the vehicle or what something, I always felt like there were things out in the yard, like watching. I don't know, maybe they were watching from the building, but it just felt like there was more there than our group.
You were definitely felt observed. I mean, the whole
Mhm.
time.
Yes.
I know that they do. They do want to know what we're doing there, and so we're new there. Especially, I was new there, and let them know that I was new there, and I did. Even though at one point I think we had a lot of activity when we first started off, and if you recall, and then it kind of leveled off at some point during the evening. But I mean, even if it was it leveled off, I still felt like that there was somebody around me. Even honestly, even in the bunk room, which the bunk rooms aren't part of the original building. They're
Mhm.
just they built them there just to give the investigators a break. And I definitely felt like that there was something sitting on the bed next to me while I was sleeping. So I felt like that they were in the bunk room as well.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, all right, so let's hop into it. We will go um, downstairs. We'll start out in the basement, um, the workroom behind the boiler room or broiler room, whatever.
Yeah,
It was Tim, Scott, Heather, and myself, and we're in there. And Scott and Heather are sitting over on one side of the room, and Tim and I are on the other side of the room. But Tim is back in the corner, and I'm up by the door. Scott brought in his big old 12-foot tripwire, laid it up on the counter that's there, and
yeah,
he dug out one of his new pieces of equipment, which was a dead bell. And when I saw it, I was ecstatic because I'd only seen him
Mhm.
on shows, and I'm like, "Oh, you got a dead bell! This is awesome!" And his K2 meter, and then Tim was filming and I was filming, and so like I was painting around. We were asking a lot of questions. The tripwire was, it seemed like it was answering our questions, um, by blinking for yes, staying on for no. Um, and then the all of a sudden the dead bell went off, and I was like a kid in the candy store. I was like,
yeah.
like it was so cool that it actually had went off, and the K2 meter was, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet away from the dead bell. But every time that K2 meter lit up, the dead bell would go off. So I
Yeah.
got to watching that K2 meter, and
Mhm.
I knew when that K2 meter would peg to red, it wasn't going to be long before that dead bell dinged.
Yep,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah. That was I was actually the it was actually the second time I'd used the dead bell. The first time I used it was with Flint Hills Paranormal in Emporia. They've got a hotel there called the Old Clinton Hotel, which is 150 years old, and uh, that time that I used it there, I was like, okay, I'm ready. And every time that it went off, it would go thunk, and I thought, oh God, I got screwed. And I tore it apart while I was in there, and they've got a glue that holds that clapper in, and it had come apart. So I re-glued it in there and fixed it up, and it was working just fine. So I was excited to use that, and the tripwire I had not used before, and I was actually really happy, that those devices were great to communicate with down there, and I was excited myself that they were working. But I think we eventually got to a point where I think we had to shut the dead bell off because it was getting too difficult to hear anything. I mean, I did get I was getting a vibe down there at one point that, there were a group of children that were down there surrounding us. It kind of felt like a child energy, and like there was like 4 to 5 little boys and girls that were down there, and which kind of surprised me from what you had told me about Joe's energy, that he kind of didn't like people in his area, his property, his area, and I do kind of remember that kind of energy being down there during that time.
Yep. Yep. Because Scott delved into a world that I did not know that he did that existed. So it kind of freaked me out a little bit. But um, he was talking about, they were talking about red hair.
Hmm.
You know, and of course, then it was all red. But they were talking about the red hair and that my red hair was pretty. And he
Hmm.
said, if your hair gets pulled, don't freak out about it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so secretly, I'm sitting there going, pull my hair, pull my hair. That's what I'm thinking to myself, pull my hair. Like, I want to, which they didn't.
No,
Um,
no, they didn't. But we did end up with another surprise that at around that time also.
but I was looking at Scott. I'm like, how do you know this? Like, how do you know that they're standing by me and all of this stuff? And he goes, they can talk to me and I can see. And I was like, okay, lead
Yeah,
off with that next time because I did not know that about you.
I'm
So
not.
that kind of freaked me out.
Yeah, I can hear energy. I can hear the energy. I just I can't actually see spirits like a lot of other people can, I can hear the energy, and I've actually within the last several months or so, I've actually kind of backed away from that because I've had some experiences with it that haven't been so good. So I'm working with some friends on better protection, and better ways of communicating, and so I haven't been working with that as much as I'd like to. So I've kind of backed off of kind of feeling that energy. But if I do recall, while we were talking about it, um, I did see what seemed to be a a glob of energy, possibly a an orb that very quickly went past my right shoulder, right between me and Heather, because Heather was just probably sitting, less than a foot from me, in another steel chair, and there was just no way that a human being could have fit between me and her, and it was just this very quick white glob that just went right past my right shoulder.
Mhm.
And if you notice on the video, it does get my attention because I end up, looking over my right shoulder, and that's kind of what interrupted my train of thought, and if you'll notice, on the video, I think you still got it on YouTube that, um, there was something that got my attention, and just like a couple of seconds later, that's when we noticed what else was on the video.
Unfortunately, I lost that YouTube page and can't access it. So
Okay. All right. I still got
the
the
one I
video.
have out there now is different. I gotta figure it out because
Okay. I've still got it. So if you need to send me to send it to you, I can.
I have it.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
I have it.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, with that, I was going through footage, and um, when he saw it, he goes, "That was a shadow," and it actually is picked up on my camera. This
Mhm.
white mist zooming right in between them at the same time. He says, "I think I just saw a shadow. It's there. Like we caught it." That was some really cool evidence. And when I told Scott about it, I'm like, "I'm gonna send you a copy of it." I'm like,
Mhm.
and yeah, he was just like he couldn't believe it either that it was there. Um,
That was good evidence. That was great
yeah,
Well,
evidence.
it turned out not to be just that shadow that I saw. I mean, actually, what I, um, uh, hi, Catherine. Let me get to your question here in a second. What I actually saw, was just about a whitish figure, and I mean, I was sitting, but it was like, if you look at the video, it's way above my head. It kind of drifts
yeah,
from right to left, right in
yeah,
front of me. I mean, it's huge. So,
Mhm.
um, Catherine, I was 4 when I realized that there were things that actually I could see, I could hear and see. And it's kind of a long story, but at some point I did end up kind of backing off of my abilities because they were causing me too much trouble. And but unfortunately, I did for a certain period of time. I got away from those abilities, and so unfortunately, I'm kind of back in the same position I was when I was 4, trying to learn to use them again. So
you
anyway,
gotta take precautions and make sure that you're protected and covered though before
yeah, yeah.
for sure.
I've had a lot of other things that have kind of taken my focus away from all of that. So unfortunately, some bad things, and so I haven't been working with it, and I've kind of dropped it for now. So, but thank you for asking.
Um, yeah, she says I understand. Definitely need to be
Yeah,
protected for
Mhm.
sure
Mhm.
in all
definitely.
aspects.
Yeah,
Because otherwise, things are going to happen that you aren't expecting to happen because you weren't fully prepared
yeah,
um, for
right.
that.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
um, I know that there was one point where Tim got up and left the room and went out in the broiler room, um, and he was followed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I could. I definitely could feel that. That Joe had entered the room at some point. I think it was while we were kind of focused on what we were seeing, and he did kind of exit towards the boiler room, and I think he was looking for somebody to have a conversation with, and I think Tim, he felt, had some skills that he was familiar with, and I think that he kind of had developed in his way kind of a rapport with Tim, and that's where I was kind of thinking that well, if Tim maybe starts talking about maintenance stuff, that
Mhm.
he could develop a conversation with him, and he definitely did. He liked you a lot. I could tell that.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know.
When, when you were out there in the broiler room, Tim, what all did you experience?
So when I went out, Scott mentioned I should go out in the boiler room because he thought Joe was out there. So I did. And he had told me to start talking about stuff. I know about boilers. I worked as a mechanic for many, many, many years, retired from being one. So I talked about that for a long time. And so I talked about the boiler, trying to help him get it started, get it going again, on a daily basis. What help does he need? Those type of things. I was trying to speak to him on a daily basis or a level that is what would be normal for him. I mean, what do you need? How can I help you get this boiler going? What do you need? So forth. So I told him that I was a maintenance supervisor and I had all the knowledge and experience. But what I heard when I went out in the room, I sat down in that chair after walking around the boiler. I heard footsteps come down the stairs. They either come down or go up the stairs that come down into that room, that boiler room. I heard that. I I felt like somebody was in the room with me. You get that hair stand up energy feeling the whole time I was in there, but I didn't feel threatened. I didn't feel like I was endangered or infringed upon. I just felt like something was there trying to communicate with me. I don't have the abilities that a lot of you guys have. I wish I did sometimes. Other
Oh yeah.
times I probably don't want it. But anyway, I wished I did because I'd like to be able to communicate more that way or try to get an understanding. I know something's there. I feel it. I feel the energy and I can sense that it's there. But that's what I do. I can't, unless it's a shadow or produce itself, and I just have the feeling and energy to know that it's around me or exists around me, walks around me. I've been touched. I've been rubbed on. It's happened in my life. So I do have that level of ability to know someone's in the room. But I felt comfortable. I didn't feel out of place. I didn't feel like I should run out of the room. I felt like I'm okay. I sat down in a chair. I was all right sitting in there. So Joe, I'm wondering if he's one of those spirits that he wants to communicate or he tries to, or he wants to know, hey, I'm here. Talk to me. I need someone to talk to, or I got something to say, that type of thing. So I would like to go back there and go down in that boiler room again because I'd like to see what would happen the second time. I really, really would. So
I almost
Yep.
wonder if
maybe
it might be a good idea. Maybe if you do have some mechanical books, or something, bring
I
something with
do.
you. Bring something with you
I
the
thought
second.
about yeah, I thought about bringing like a tool, a hand wrench, or a book or something to see if that would be and help react of what goes on down there. Now that I know
Definitely
that,
put a K2 next to it, or
right?
I'll bring the dead bell back again, and
Um,
hopefully
so
give you opportunity to talk.
Brenda and I want to thank you for the dead bell because we both have one now. So
Awesome. All right. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we have. Um, if you got time, I got a story. I'll tell you. It won't be very long, but we've got the Union Pacific Great Overland Station in North Topeka here. It's obviously not as big as Union Station in KC, but it's a big, beautiful building, and it was closed for some time and remodeled, and it is a hot spot. And we were in there about 3 months ago, and with some friends, and it definitely started drawing attention again, and was just ding, 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 ding all night, and finally. One of our investigators that was with us asked, "How old are you?" And we're thinking, okay, we got a child here, and so nothing happened for a couple of seconds, and then it started ringing, ding, 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 ding. We're thinking, it's going to stop at like 5 years old, 10 years old. No, ding, ding, ding. That thing rang 28 times in succession.
Wow.
So yeah, so we were assuming that we were working with a 28-year-old man, which ended up making sense because what we kind of found out with using some other equipment was yeah, he was a soldier, and he came back to Topeka looking for his fiance, and the old story, she apparently didn't show up, and apparently he's still there waiting. So, and but anyway, but yeah, that was definitely, kind of a real surprise, and probably one of the first times with that particular piece of equipment where it really did, become useful. I mean, granted, it was kind of, waiting for that thing to go off like 28 times. I mean,
Mm.
but it was still surprising, and it was still very cool.
I think if anybody is going to connect with a Joe, um, I think a male is going to connect with him faster than a female. Not to say that females can't go downstairs and investigate, because you can. However, I remember Heather asking if if it was okay if we were down there, and um, I don't remember how it was set up. I don't know, blink once for yes, twice for no, or something like that. But that thing blinked a lot. Like he was telling us that it was not okay for us to be down there because that's not a place for women to be. Um, but I think if you go down there and you kind of, you can ask questions or whatever because he will definitely answer because he don't like the women being down there.
Mm.
Um, but more from an observing standpoint and see what happens, how the interaction goes with the guys. Um, it's it's definitely a lot different, and I think you get more out of it. Um, Plus, anybody that's ever investigated with us knows we're pretty laid back. Um, we're not rambunctious and in your face. We're just kind of like laid back. We try to think of them as being a human being and talking to them as they're human. And sometimes I think because of that, a lot more interaction comes out.
Mm.
Not that there's a right or wrong way to investigate, because there's not. Everybody has their own way of doing it. That just seems to be what works for us. Tanya says Tim is a magnet. Kathy agrees, and I wholeheartedly agree that he is a magnet. If you are ever on an investigation with us and you want something to happen, go with Tim. Guaranteed. You'll experience something somewhere.
I
Yes.
mean, and just kind of going back to what you were saying about the women being, in his area. I mean, I sort of believe that now. I mean, we're kind of when I was first researching the place before I went, and when I was down there, I almost feel like now that it's more of a protection, or more of a, I think he feels like perhaps that, since, at that time that really women weren't into the, more or
Mm.
less the mechanical stuff or anything during that time, that maybe he's protecting them more actually than it is hate. And I don't know if anybody here listening to us wants to comment and say
Mm.
anything different, but it
Mm.
almost feels like it's protective, than it is anger.
Yeah,
So
yeah, he is very protective over that space.
yeah,
Um, we never figured out what that one EVP was either, did we, Tim? It sounds mechanical.
It does.
I don't know if that's on some of the stuff that I sent you, Scott, but it, it in the beginning when I heard it, um, I was wondering if it was Heather laughing because it was a weird noise, and I'm like, okay, maybe it was her. But I played it for Tim, and he goes, no, he goes, that's mechanical, and there's nothing mechanical that
Mm.
works in that building except electricity. Like there's no
Right.
heat, no air conditioning. It's just the electricity. So you'll have to. I think I actually labeled it something like maybe Heather laughing because I didn't know. Um,
Right.
but if you listen to it, it sounds mechanical, like some
Right.
piece of machinery is actually running, which I
Yeah,
thought,
because the only other
I,
sound we had that night was the rain dripping in the water buckets all
yeah,
through, and in the hallways. I mean, we could hear that, but that doesn't sound like that. It doesn't sound like it's not the same sound. So maybe he
yeah,
tried to start the boiler.
maybe.
yeah, maybe. listened to some of your ideas and thought, okay, let's run this baby. I'm cold.
Let's give it a try, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. Anything else in that basement area that we need to hit on?
I don't think so.
Mhm.
I just, the footsteps, definitely were interesting, and obviously what I saw was really interesting when you showed me the video, and yeah, it was a good start to the night, and I think for at least for our group, I mean, we had maybe what, three, four different groups that were there with all the people that we had.
Yeah,
For us, I thought it was a good start to the night.
it
It was.
was. It was. So then from there, we had told another team, like we just came out of the basement. There was a lot of stuff going on, like go down there and see what you can experience. And they went downstairs, which is where Roger would come into play at this point. But they went downstairs into the basement boiler room, and we took off and went outside to the dead tree in the rain, but why not? Um, Scott, you're a medium then, correct?
I'm clairaudient mostly at this point. I can hear the energy. I can hear the voices. I can't see anything. Again, at this point, I'm really not doing anything with my abilities. Just because I've had some things happen within the last month that have kind of taken my attention away from that's made it difficult for me to protect myself. So I'm not really doing anything right now with it.
So capabilities not full fledged.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So out to the dead tree, Scott decides that he would do a Estes method.
Yeah.
This man, this man can do an Estes method, and I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know. I think 30 minutes into it, we were like, when do we need to pull him out? Like, how long does he go? That type of thing. And Heather's like, oh, he's fine. And I told her kindly,
She
she's
did.
like, I've seen him go an hour. And we're like,
She
holy
did.
crap, that is a
She did
long time to
too.
be under.
Yeah, we did
I
keep
think we ended
asking.
up pulling him at like
Yeah.
40 or 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then eventually you guys are like dumping salt on me and throwing holy water at me. The power of Christ compels you. And
No, but
We were getting close. We were
it
getting
was,
close.
yeah, that was really, I mean, and that night, and I don't know, it was definitely the energy in the air from the thunderstorms that just came through. I mean, we before we reached you guys at dinner, I mean, we were driving through probably, I mean, it felt like I was a submarine in a lake. I mean, it literally, we couldn't hardly see. I was literally driving with my wheel on the white stripe, definitely trying to find my way, up that highway. And so there was definitely a lot of energy in the air, but that was probably as far as using the SB7 was probably the clearest voices that I had heard off of that at that time.
yeah. And Heather she had a camera out and she was taking pictures.
Mhm.
And of course, it's night. And so she was using a flash.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, you would hear Scott go, "Stop doing that." And she's
Yeah.
like, "What?" And then he would say something about like a photo or whatever. And she's
Right.
like, "Well, if you keep talking to Scott, I'll quit taking pictures." And um, so, yeah, this thing, whatever it was highly upset that she kept repeating pictures over and
Mhm.
over and over again. Um, and then as we were asking questions, it seemed like there was more than one entity talking through Scott
I
because we
could
would get different answers. Um, and what was the one thing about Tim when they were talking about um, what was it? I did it or something like that. They never
Yeah.
figured it out, or
Yeah, we were thinking that somebody had been murdered, and we kept asking about murder or somebody being killed, and Scott kept answering, "I did it, I did it," and she kept saying that over and over. And those trees, so that take in consideration the backside of it's a cornfield, right? So the edge of the yard's a cornfield back in there, and you could just feel the presence, like someone was in that cornfield walking around, looking, kept poking its head out, looking at you
Oh,
because I
wow.
kept looking over at the cornfield going, who's over there? Because I felt like someone was over there, kept poking their head out of the cornfield looking at us.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
I walked around the backside of the tree, kept trying to, I had my camcorder on, trying to see, is there somebody back there? Is there an animal? Is there something there? Because you get that feeling. And Scott kept in, and we talked about murder, and it was, "Yeah, I did it. I killed him." And it was just
Good heavens.
over and over and over. And so that cemetery is out there, the dead trees out there. What happened in that building between two patients, possibly? One kills another. Is that what happened? We never did get a definitive answer what, but yes, we were getting actual, yeah, I did it. I killed him. I murdered him
wasn't
type
wasn't
things.
there another response of he knew and didn't do anything or something like
Yes,
that?
correct. And that was it too. We were wondering what happened in the building or outside that someone knew about the murder and never said anything. It just went on.
Yeah.
Patients? Was it patients in the building? Was it doctors? Was it a doctor and a patient? You know what I'm saying? We never, you're right.
Yeah.
That's correct. That happened the whole time we were out there. For the 35 minutes I was going to run in and get my holy water. Yeah, that happened the whole time out there. So,
Yeah, Scott was a fountain of words, let me tell you.
yeah,
Well,
so I,
you
so
were
I
right. I
don't,
mean, they were just coming just like one on top of the other, exactly like you
right.
said. Like, there were spirits that were both talking, and I believe that at some point, I mean, yeah, I was hearing one tell another to be quiet, and there was a period there, like during the time that Heather started taking pictures with her iPhone, that I definitely could, you know, you know, they didn't like having the pictures taken, and they didn't like the flash,
Right.
and or something. But I didn't know that was going on, until after I got the headphones
Mhm.
off and the blindfold off, and yes, definitely, that the timing with that, kind of worked out where yeah, they didn't like the cameras, and that's the first time. This is the first time that I heard that you were feeling that something was in the cornfield. I didn't
Yeah.
know that night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
there was something. There
It was
definitely was
something. Yeah.
something.
There was something
'Cause
lurking around out there. There was. So,
okay,
he was more behind you, behind the tree where
okay,
you were sitting on the bench. He was behind you,
hmm,
looking in the cornfield, and I
okay,
was in front of you, and I kept turning to my right in the cornfield because I kept hearing
right,
and feeling things over there. So yeah,
right.
it was.
So that yard around that tree where we were at, the whole time you, so for an Estes session, for the whole time you were under, you were answering questions. I mean, usually, you go through a period of time, you don't hear anything and and you don't, but the whole entire time you were getting responses. We were getting direct responses to questions that we were answering. The more we asked, the more intense it felt around the tree. And all of a sudden it's like, who's out here? Like we were being
yeah,
surrounded by something standing around us,
yeah,
hiding, looking, what's going on out here type thing.
yeah.
So yeah,
Those
that yard is, yeah, definitely active.
Yeah, those responses. I mean, they were some of the clearest I ever recall using an SB7, and I mean that was on AM also. And I mean, I'm used
Mhm.
to a lot of the hissing and a lot of the white noise and a
Right.
lot of the strange noises that you pick up with AM. And the other thing was I had the antenna completely down that entire time, and so I mean it was definitely something
Right.
local that was speaking, or they were speaking.
Mhm,
Too
mhm.
bad we can't find out about. Too bad we can't find the history if anybody was, and if
If
if they were that. where that's probably documentation that's been buried. We'll never find out. So
No,
Oh, probably.
probably not. It's it's difficult, getting records out of places like that,
yeah,
especially from,
right,
we're talking 100, 130 years ago, because
exactly.
we've been doing some studies of our own poorhouse, which actually for the last 40 years here in Shawnee County has been used as a county parks and recreation center, and people know it's haunted, and we have people in there all the time, and they're all seeing things there, and yeah, and we have an unmarked cemetery right behind it as well that probably we're looking at probably more than 120 people that are buried
Mhm.
behind that building. So,
Oh,
and yeah, same thing.
um,
We have a little bit of difficulty finding information enough about that. So
uh,
we're not even. I mean, they do have ghost hunts there, but not to the level of Ashmore.
gotcha. I wonder. I wonder why those poorhouses in these places like this throughout the years seem to be the most active out of. I mean, we've been to like three or four of them now, Brenda, ain't it? That every time we go there, it's been a poorhouse. It's been a retirement. It's not a retirement home, but a poorhouse or a work farm, or people dropped their family
Nursing
members
home.
off and just drove away type thing. So,
Yep.
Well, yeah,
uh,
and that's a lot of it, just exactly it, because I mean, there's a lot of trauma surrounding, a lot of
yeah,
psychological trauma, a lot of sadness. I mean, we're talking about people that they weren't taken very good care of back then, because they just, there was no such thing as Social Security. There was no such
yeah,
thing as they were, like I said, just on the very beginnings of mental health treatment, and
yeah,
yeah, there was those people were just dropped off in probably some of the most traumatic times of their life.
yeah,
They lost their breadwinner. Some of them, everything they owned was in a structure fire, and they lost everything they owned. So, these were places that they had no choice. They either went there, or they were living on
mhm,
the streets, and
yeah,
so
yeah. And
these
then
people,
they
yeah,
get to the point where once they're there, they work for the room and board.
Hmm.
yeah,
There's no getting away. There's
no,
no you can't
no.
just walk out the next day because then you're on your own. You're back to where you were. So
And again,
that part,
you were there with people that were placed there,
mhm,
because they were violent with their family members, they had mental health problems,
sure,
and I mean, so, and in most cases, and I mean, other than at night you had women on one end and men, on
yeah,
the other end.
sure,
A lot of those people weren't exactly being watched, or they were attacked while they were working,
sure,
or anything like that. So
And kids were brought in by train that were orphans too, right?
yes,
yeah,
yeah. So a lot of those places, the reason that they
yeah,
were built, or they were put the way they were put, was because they were close to railroad tracks, where they were simply dropped off and said, "Here,
mhm,
take care of these people," because nobody else.
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
So, yeah, a lot of sadness there surrounding those places, and a lot of people don't know that they have these places in their community, or these vacant buildings or in their community, or don't know why they were there. Just
mhm,
and a lot of them were demolished. So
right,
yeah,
Yep. Yep, for sure. Um, I think after that is when you broke off and went with Roger, right, Tim?
mhm. Yeah. We went up to the shock treatment room. That's Roger. We wanted to go up there and try to stay in there and see what would happen, to get some kind of reaction or interaction with us. We didn't get much while we were up there. I mean, when the group I was Roger and his daughter and sister-in-law, I think, is who was up there with. And we didn't get a lot of reaction at that time. There wasn't a lot of activity going on. I'm doing a digital recorder. I haven't gone through all of it yet to see if we got picked up anything, but we didn't. It was that's when, like Scott mentioned before, it kind of started leveling off. The night started leveling off, and the place kind of started getting quiet as far as that goes. So we didn't have much up there with that. Unfortunately, I wish we did have. But Roger was he's not here to talk, but he was a little upset because he's trying his hardest to get something to happen and nothing would happen. Of course, then again, I'm going to say it again: we're ghost hunters. We can go to 8 hours in a place and sit and nothing happen. I mean, it happens sometimes. It just does. If ghosts came out on cue, we'd all be millionaires by now. So, as far as that goes.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
exactly. So, and it's, you try to tell people, it's like fishing. You're going to have you're going to have a good day of fishing or a bad day of fishing, but a bad day of fishing is better than a good day at work. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
There you go.
it it was still, it was still fun. And I mean, it's around those times where, you kind of start getting to know the people that you've been investigating with for the last couple of hours, and to
Mhm.
make some awesome friends, during that
Yeah,
time.
mhm,
It's still a
exactly.
hell of a lot of fun, even if it
Yeah,
does kind of get dull.
right.
yeah, because we
I
don't
do,
get to go down with other people very often. So,
Right.
right. I do know when Tim was off with Roger and those guys up on the third floor, Scott, Heather, and I went into the sisters' rooms, and I know their names both started with M. I think it
Yeah.
was Martha and
I don't remember, but I
Margaret
know
or
what you're
something.
talking
I don't
about.
remember, but they were sisters.
Yeah.
And there's a chair in the room. There's a bunch of toys in the room. Heather read a story. We had some interaction off of the tripwire
Yeah.
um, while that was happening. Like they were liking the story that she was reading. Um, and yeah, it wasn't a lot, but it was a little bit of something. Um, the one thing I am going to hit on, and this still baffles me to this day, is on our tour there are motion censored lights in the stairwell, so you have to step
mm,
within that little camera thing to make them come on. And our tour guide goes, "Yeah, they come on all the time. Like nobody over here in the building, and they come on all the time." She goes, "We'll even get notifications that the the lights have come on." And we experienced that
mm,
1000% all night.
mm,
Nobody even on that side of the building, near that hallway, near the stairs, nothing. And those lights are coming on and off.
mm.
Um, and it was like that on the other end. And we were all outside at one point. Mind you, all of us are outside. There is not one person in the building.
And
And those lights are
come
turning
on.
on and going off and turning on and going off. And we're like, what in the world? And where the cameras are, the only thing that could technically mess with it is like a bug.
Correct.
And there wasn't any bugs.
Mm,
And it literally, like, would come on, it would stay on for a few seconds, it would go off. Not even 10 seconds later, it would come right back on again. And then
mm,
it would go off, and then it'd come right back on and go off. Um, and it was crazy. Like we were outside, the sun was coming up, and nobody had been in the building for I don't know, probably like an hour because us three were sitting outside talking, and
mm.
everybody else was kind of camped out, getting some Z's. And I remember looking up and I'm like, that light is still on. Like it's
Go on.
still turning on and off.
Correct.
Um, they have no idea why it does that. It's so weird.
Yeah, we
Um,
try to debunk it too. So,
mhm.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
then Scott, Tanya, and I, nope, Scott, Heather, and I, Tanya wasn't there, um, was walking out of the the sisters' rooms, and we walked down to the other end of the building, which is a big open room. There's a piano with a excuse me, with a sketchy doll sitting on it. It's pretty eerie.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse
Bless.
me. Sorry. Um, and we're sitting down there, but as we're walking down the hallway, that the light in the stairwell comes on. Um, but we hear talking, and we know it's group members, and we thought that they were up on the third floor, like at the end of the hall. It was very loud. It was very distinct, and then Roger's dad came up the stairs, and we're like, "Who's upstairs on the third floor?" And he goes, "Nobody." And we're like, "How is nobody up on the third floor? Like, we've been hearing you guys." He goes, "No, everybody's outside." So we were hearing them on the second floor from the first floor down below, but it sounded like they were above us
Mm.
on the third floor. It was
Oh,
weird. It was weird, and that's what I was talking about, Scott, earlier when I was talking about Beatty. That's
Yeah.
how that's how it sounds in Beatty.
mhm.
Like,
Okay.
it makes it sound like they're like down the hallway from you a little bit, but they're
Yeah.
totally somewhere else in the building. So yeah. Um, yeah, we did. We tried to debunk so much,
Mhm.
so much. Um, I do know when us three were sitting down in that big room and I had the grid light on and I had the backpack out and stuff. Um, there is a very loud male exhale on my EVP recorder, and it was not you
Mm.
because you had um, just talked and you were sitting there because I have some of your exhales too, but it didn't match up to yours. So you had said something and then you were quiet, and then this loud exhale
Mm.
or okay or something
Good.
like that came out like they were agreeing. And I don't even remember what was asked. I think it might have been like, can you come out and, like break the grid or something? And it was like, okay. But it was
Mm.
really loud and it was male. I was like, what in the world? So just because you may not get a lot as far as seeing shadows or knocks or bangs or stuff like that doesn't mean that you won't catch other things
Good.
audibly, um, or reviewing evidence. Uh, I want to go and talk really quick about the room that has the original bed in it.
Yes.
As we were sitting in there, I'm gonna let the guys talk in a second. There was so much
Mhm.
um, going on outside of the room and in the room
Yes.
with
Yes.
us. So
I remember the footsteps. Because I mean, it was very obvious. I mean that and I was sitting on one side of the bed close to the window, and I think Tim, you were going back and forth out and looking out to see if
Mhm.
there was anybody out there. And I remember for sure that I was hearing walking on a lot of those broken tiles out there that that was, I mean, crunch, crunch, crunch. I mean that you would hear all night when we
Mhm.
were when we were sitting still, or and when we were walking on them, for crying out loud. And you would keep going out there and looking out the door, and there was nobody out there.
There
and
was
I
not.
think I think you went down and shut off the big fan that was running too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I shut off the fan because it was loud enough. We wanted to make it quieter so we could actually try to see, we could figure out what was going on. Yes.
Right.
But wasn't that on the third floor? That
Yes.
bed was on because across
Yeah.
that hallway is where that shock therapy room was, right
Yeah.
Yes.
across the hallway. So where that was at. So yes, yeah, that, and I never did see anything. And I shut that fan off because I wanted to catch, so we could catch what was going on out
Right.
there. Exactly. And
Yeah.
while I was out there shutting the fan off, I didn't see anything in the hallway. I never
No.
saw a shadow. I never saw anything out there.
No.
But we did
No.
hear the footsteps for
Yeah.
definitely.
And I think Scott had said something about, did you hear the footsteps like somebody walked in here? Or there you felt somebody was over by you or something. I don't remember 100% exactly. But
Yeah.
on my EVP recorder, there are footsteps that are caught that it sound like they're walking around the end of that bed, like
So,
they're coming towards you.
Yes, yeah, I did. I did feel something, that was, and I, it almost seemed like it was a female energy kind of what I was picking up. Almost kind of almost had a scent of perfume, just for a second, just while I was sitting there, and and I kind of started because I didn't know if maybe it was something that was I can't remember, was Heather with us in that room?
he
Yes.
was.
Okay, because I couldn't remember if it was, I was going like this because I was trying to figure out if it was coming from you or Heather, and it definitely wasn't something that I had smelled, for that whole night. So it was different. But yes, there was something in there with us for a period of time, and I thought it was just maybe a little too shy, or just didn't have enough energy to speak to us, or whatever. But yeah, there was something in there with us for quite a
Yeah.
bit, and it seemed friendly, So I didn't really feel like we were in danger, or that anybody was going to get scratched or anything. Yeah, it was a definite presence.
Mhm.
But that whole building was that way. You didn't feel threatened or scared
No.
like you wanted to run out of the building. That whole building was that way. You didn't get a eerie vibe feeling, just like it was just presence that was there. That, well, so we go back to dropping people off. If you think about the 30s and 40s, the most place you could be around people even today is work and school or a poor farm, because
Right.
you were with everyone who was coming in and out of there, who died, who stayed there, who was here. You were around a lot of people. If you lived there
Yeah.
for years, you were around a lot of people
Oh, for
Mhm.
sure.
all
Yeah.
the time. So that much activity, that much energy, being in a building at one time for 100 years, there just has to be an energy still existing. It,
Oh, for
it
sure.
it's made an imprint, and made an imprint in every brick in the building. It just has. So
Yeah.
I
And
don't know.
it would be nice if we could get into to that cemetery that is
Oh,
actually, what was it, a mile away or so,
yeah,
but
by the way, yep,
it's
Yeah, through
it's
that
on it's
not
on
so
private
nice side.
property, and
yeah,
apparently the gentleman that owns that
yeah,
property isn't very friendly. So
yeah. It didn't sound like
we'll
it.
never get there.
It's
So
a public cemetery. You just have
Yeah,
to
oh, it
go
is.
through property to get there.
but if
Okay,
it's a if it's an active cemetery, people still being buried there, he has to give leeway.
that's
I
true.
think that's I
I
think
don't
that's a
think
law.
I don't think there are people still being buried there,
Okay.
No,
but
no,
Okay.
it's not a private cemetery
Oh, okay.
because she told us it's a public cemetery.
Correct.
Um, it
Well, if they
should.
got if someone's maintaining it, mowing it, taking care of it, there's still got to be access back there. You know, otherwise it's an overgrown. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
like you, Scott. Maybe I got a drone. Maybe we'll fly a drone over there next time. Hopefully, it won't shoot it down. But
Yeah, why not try something? Yeah, sure enough.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. Anything else you guys remember want to hit on about Ashmore Estates? It's definitely a place that I do want to go back to too.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
so I will. I'll go real quick. The room that kept attracting me, which and we went into the bathroom. Scott didn't want to go into. Brenda and I went in, and we spent some time in there, and we were trying to get some evidence out of that because we knew that you didn't feel comfortable in there. I kept getting drawn back to the room that was fixed up. The guy that was going to live there, he made his own room up on the third floor. Remember, second
Robin,
floor.
Robin.
And I kept getting drawn back into that room. I don't know why, but I went in there and sat up by myself. I just felt like I should be in this room. I went in there like 3 times. I don't know why, but I felt like this is the room I should be in. I don't know why I had that draw or why my thought pattern was to go in there and just sit. I I have no idea. I didn't get any evidence out of that room whatsoever. Nothing.
Yeah,
But it felt like that's where I should be. So
which is really ironic. I saw a video a few weeks ago, and it was, the elderly lady that comes back that used to live there. She was there, and I don't remember who she was with, but they were taking her, um, helping her walk down the aisle and stuff, and she was doing a tour. Like, this is where the women hung out.
mm,
This was the women's porch, blah 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 blah, and the crow's nest or Robin's room that you're talking about was actually the porch for the women.
oh,
That was actually an outside porch
oh,
for the women, is what she
okay.
said. And then um, where it goes into the other half of the building,
Mm,
the other half of the building is the newer section. So then she got confused and she's like, well, maybe that's where the men was.
oh,
So
gotcha.
it was
Okay.
either the women's porch or the men's porch, but if it was the men's porch, that might have been why you were drawn there.
No, maybe.
Do you know what I
Uh,
mean?
yeah, I kept wanting to go back in that room. I don't know why.
Maybe Joe was there. Maybe he wanted to hang out with you some more.
Maybe.
Yeah, could have been. Like I said, it was just for me. It was just I just and I recall now. It was just I mean from the even the beginning of the tour. I just it was just for me. It was just a feeling of just do not go in there and so I don't know. Maybe they didn't like my haircut. I don't know, but
Maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, it didn't feel right, and I think I did eventually go in there, and I thought and I don't know. I think I was still a little bit anxious being in there, but
Mm,
it was I didn't feel as in danger as what I did was when I
no,
first walked by it.
Yeah. It definitely is a place. When we first pulled up, I was like, "This place is awesome." The vibe for me was very cool, as Tim mentioned, not threatening or anything like that. Um, I think the area that actually bothered me more was out under the dead tree, just
mm,
because we didn't know what was in the corn. I think
mm,
that freaked me out actually more than being in the building itself. And like I said, anytime you were out there, it seemed like you were being watched a lot anyway. Um,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. I mean, for me, I really thought that the most activity, and I think if I was to tell somebody that had never been there before who said that they're going to go there, I would definitely say, downstairs and in the backyard next to that tree.
mm,
I would definitely say do not miss those two places.
mhm.
So,
And the one place we really didn't go either was on the women's dining side, that little kitchen area back there. I went and sat there. I went and sat in there by myself, and it was like this way and that way. I kept looking one way then another, one way then another, like somebody was on each end looking at me or trying to come toward me. So that's be an area too, and that's downstairs. I mean, that's on that same floor. And I
that's
yeah.
think is that where the lady is that where she got her dress caught on fire?
where
Is
the
back in
little
the
girl
kitchen
died.
area?
Was it the
Yeah,
lady or the little girl that got
little
caught?
girl. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It was the little
The
girl.
child that
yeah.
she apparently got too close to the oven and
Correct,
the dress caught on fire, and
correct,
I think she just kind of went whoosh, and nobody
correct.
had time to help her.
And I think that'd be some place to look at too, to go back in there, because we didn't spend any
Really,
time.
I definitely felt her a time or two in the Scooby room. Remember the Scooby room?
Yep.
It was that room that was underneath the
stairs.
staircase.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And I did go down there once, and I didn't feel her there, yeah, I mean, there was definitely her energy was in there as well.
So Tanya's asking if we're planning a visit.
I know.
Oh,
We can.
You know what I say? Get in the truck.
Yeah, we don't have anything for June, so we can. We can book something for June. Scott, if you want to come back, you're more than welcome to come back with us.
hey, I'm game. You know, I'm always ready. So my stuff's always in the car. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, would definitely like to go back. Do a little bit of a different game plan this time. Yeah, kind of maybe hit some areas that we didn't hit last time.
Yeah, exactly.
What are some other activities we got coming up with Paranormal Girls and Tim?
So right now, I haven't talked to Tim yet because I was waiting for the rest of my team to get back to me, which I've only heard from one. Hint, hint, Tanya. Misty's not on here, so I can't yell at her. But I actually am trying to set up going to Osceola, Missouri in March to the
hotel.
Historic Commerce Hotel. Yep.
Mhm.
I got all the paperwork filled out. That place, if you go to that place, he needs references and he checks them, which is fine.
Yeah.
Whatever. But we're looking at that towards the end of March.
Okay.
April 11th, we are looking, or we're not looking at, we are going to Aurora Brothel.
Yep.
We will be down at Team Member. If you want to join us, Scott, to that, if you want to pop over there, you can go there because we'll be down at Team Member anyway. Kathy is not able to go. And then the 23rd of April, we will be at Billy Creek, which you will be there. 24th, we will be at Indiana State, which you will be there.
Yep.
We do not have anything planned for May or June yet. July is McAteer. April or August is Sleeper. And then our calendar is open back up again. So, yeah.
We're looking at some points of our team is looking at a Kansas battlefield tour, and a lot of people think that well, you know, the Civil War wasn't in Kansas very much. However, one thing that you might want to consider is prior to the Civil War was the Bleeding Kansas era, where Kansas was definitely in a fight for whether we were going to be a pro-slavery or an anti-slavery state. And so there were a lot of battles over that and a lot of skirmishes in eastern Kansas and western Missouri. So we are putting together a battlefield tour going to the Battle of the Blue, which a lot of people don't realize is just one side of the Truman Sports Complex. There was actually a battlefield around that area. We're looking at the Battle of Mine Creek. We're looking at Hickory Point. We're looking obviously at Lawrence, Kansas. There's just a lot of places with in Osawatomie, John Brown, obviously had a home in Osawatomie for a while. So we're going to be checking out a lot of those places. Hopefully we'll do some live stuff coming up, and we're looking at that around in the area around June. So we're excited about it.
That's awesome. Tanya says
I'm a Civil War buff, so count me in.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll let you know what's going on.
Well, that was Roger. But anyway, Tanya says body cam works great.
Cool.
We're trying to test out body cams because, sometimes you just don't have cameras going.
Oh,
But if
okay.
you have body cams
Yeah.
and they're going, they're always videoing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're working on that, and she's got one. Or sometimes you have the camera pointed somewhere else, but you're looking somewhere else, so you're not getting footage of that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And also, I'd like to know, Scott, can you send us information of where you got your flashlight to do the IR or the
the
black light?
black light and the IR.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll get that information to you, Brenda. You can get it to Tim. Yeah, it's just the name of the company is Olight, Olight,
Okay.
and they're a Japanese company, but they've got some really interesting combinations like that. You put two or three things together that nobody's put together forever, and some schmuck's going to buy it, and I was the schmuck, and yeah, it works out great.
That's actually a
Okay.
really cool thing, though.
Yeah,
Well, I want to get some.
yeah.
Well,
Olight.com.
Okay.
And
Oli.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am up to. I have a REM pod. Tim's got a REM pod. I have 2 REM domes. I have 4 black lights because we like to do everything in the dark. So at least with
Yes.
black lights, it adds more light to the room.
Yes, for sure.
So I have those. Everybody on the team has dowsing rods now, including Tim.
Awesome.
We all have dowsing rods.
Good. You've
I've had
trained
mine
on.
I've actually had mine for a long time. I just don't dig them out.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
And
That's
then
good.
And
Tim's
so
got a
get
dead
this,
bell and I got a dead bell.
I bought my dowsing rod at Gettysburg Battlefield. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, and then Kathy has 2 tripwires and a doll. She kind of looks like a Holly Hobby doll, kind of. But she's got a motion detector in her.
Oh, excellent.
And she's got one of those coffin music box type thingies.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, good deal. So yeah, all that stuff excellent.
Yeah, so we've ramped up equipment a lot.
To see the latest REM pod has got a voice in it that tells you how close that the energy is, and it's also rechargeable, and it tells
Awesome.
yes, it tells you exactly how much battery is left also. So I'm looking to
that's
get
cool.
one of those as well. So
I want to get one of those epoch boxes
yeah.
that actually say yes or no. So
Yes.
when you're asking questions, it can answer it.
Yes.
Sorry, guys, we're going off on a tangent. Woo! Talking about equipment. That could be a whole podcast in its own.
Yeah.
That's no lie.
So anyway, next week we are reviewing Rails West Depot, which was out in Council Bluffs, Iowa. It's part of the Pottawatomie County blurb out there. So we will do that Wednesday night. Deep dive podcast number 2. I have Bell Book and Bone, which they are an apothecary shop that also deals in tarot and bone readings. We'll learn about that. And then I have Kilbride's Mesmerized or Gothic Shop. She makes her own like gemstone jewelry. We will have those on Wednesday night. So if you guys are interested in that, we'll talk about them and their businesses and where they can be found and all of that good stuff
Cool.
to help them out. Yeah, there's a couple other ones that I talked to. They just haven't really said yes or no. So I might have a couple more on there.
Okay.
And then, then I get to post out the podcast for March. That's going to be busy.
Sweet. All right.
This current series will end at the end of March. Then we will go big and bad into the deep dive podcast with guests on Sundays and Wednesdays. And then we'll just come in periodically and do updates as we do investigations, because by then we'll be caught up. So then when we go do an investigation, then we'll come back and we'll do a review on it and still continue the deep dive haunts. series as well. So
Okay.
anyway,
Awesome.
thank you so much for joining tonight, Scott. It's been
Sure.
great.
Awesome.
We will catch,
We're about 47 people away from 1,000 at Ghostlight Paranormal.
go follow.
We'd love to have you follow us, and we'll put a lot of cool stuff on. And just really appreciate you bringing me on. And I love you, Iowa. And so I'll be kind of coming through there. I think we're planning on going March 14th. We're going to be at Malvern. And,
Awesome.
so we'll see you up there.
You'll love it.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right, guys. I will be back Wednesday with another podcast. Otherwise, we'll see you next Sunday on Deep Dive Haunts.
Yes,
Bye.
ma'am. Good night. Y'all take
Thanks,
care.
Hang tight.
Always.